So listen, I was out here in these YouTube streets and I seen Alexander Grace being reacted to on another channel because he has switched up. You know, he used to do like, and I watched this video that you see right here, but this video right here is the one we're going to react to. But I heard that he was, turning over a new leaf. It went from like, understanding women and, pickup artist type stuff, how to pass their shit tests and stuff like that to, these chicks is wilding. These chicks is wilding. They're the problem. So, I tapped out of that video because I'm like, I would rather react to it on my channel. But before I got to that, I watched the video and the thumbnail that I seen before just so I could get a taste. And yeah, he's cooking. He's cooking. So I think he's going to cook in this one as well. Let's watch it.
If you're a male and you're like, what the hell, there's no good females out there to date. These are all trash options. What do I do? I was talking to my boyfriend the other day and he was telling me that he had such a hard time finding a girlfriend before he met me, and this is why. Tell me if you agree. So he would walk up to a lot of different females. That's basically what he did to me. That's how he found me, okay? And when he walked up to these females, he would say, hi, just like that, and want to start a conversation. He said so many people would just look him in the eyes and either just walk away, like straight up, look at him and just leave, or they would give him like the biggest resting bitch face and then be such a bitch to him that it's like, why would you even want to have a conversation? It's like you're talking to a wall or someone that like wants to stab you in the face.
Now listen, I'm going to be brief so we could get into the video, but that's how come I really don't believe in cold approach all like that, because I believe in shooting a DM and shit like that. But that shit right there is just unnecessary. And I'm going to tell you why I came to the conclusion it was unnecessary. Without getting into crazy detail, I looked at all the dudes around me. And yeah, there were some who did approach a lot of chicks. Now, those dudes had high body counts and stuff like that. So they were really running it up. But I also know dudes who have high body counts who didn't really get out like that. They wasn't really cold approaching. Like, they would have warm interactions with chicks, get themselves familiar within certain environments, and try to get the number after a certain point. So yeah, when I looked around, as far as the dudes I knew, I was like, most of them don't do this shit, so it's bullshit. You don't have to move like this. And you are really just punishing yourself in most cases because it don't be fucking worth it.
Yep. And men are sick of it. You can only put up with being treated like you are subhuman for so long before you are just done. You quit, and that is what men are doing en masse.
Statistics show that 48 to 59% of single men between the ages of 18 and 40 have never asked a woman out on a date in the past year.
The way she worded that is very confusing because she said these guys have never asked a woman out on a date. If she had just kept it at that, I would have got it. But then she said in the past year, like never is like throughout their entire life. Never within a year is like they just haven't. They just haven't. You could just say that. And that's how I'm going to take it because, the only other way I think you could take it is, they have never asked a woman out. And this is like, the statistics that we got from this year as far as guys. And we just asked them if they have ever in their life asked a woman out. It's just worded in a confusing way. But that's one thing that I talk about on the channel, man. Like when it comes down to it, like I don't really believe in dating because I know what's really going on out here. These chicks be getting cracked going straight to a dude's crib or having dudes come straight to their crib. And you be the guy taking them out on dates and stuff like that. And you be on your 51st dates, Drew Barrymore shit. You thinking you Adam Sandler and shit, but she taking them TGI Friday leftovers to somebody else's crib. And he eating the fucking ribs you bought her, blowing her back out while you back at home playing fucking Fortnite or whatever you was doing. So like, fuck that shit. If you know what's going on, it's about what side of the ball you want to be on. And like, I don't really feel like damn near any of these chicks is worth a fucking date at this point, honestly. Like, and I'm not saying I'm completely against going on dates, but I'm not about to ask no chick on no date for what? I know you're getting fucked. Like, I just know it. Like, all that, oh, I'm celibate, that shit be fucking lies and bullshit. But let's continue.
So I actually want to start out this video with an apology from me to my audience, because there is something that I have consistently gotten wrong over the years. I feel shitty about it, and I want to admit to you guys when I make a mistake, own up to it, say that I'm sorry, and I really mean this. I have rationalized and excused women's rudeness when men approach them for far too long. I focused on the man, I focused on game, and how men can overcome that resistance instead of analyzing that resistance itself and holding women accountable. Let me explain to you why I made this mistake. Understand, I came of age in the 2000s, and so I have never known what it's like to live in a culture where women do show respect for men. Whenever I saw a man approach a woman to try and talk with her, I routinely saw women laugh, ignore him, insult him, or just spend the interaction being rude to the man as a way of shit testing him. I thought that that was normal. I didn't really understand how truly fucked up that behavior was because it's all I had grown up seeing. Like, a fish doesn't really know what water is because he's spent his entire life just swimming in it. I thought that shit tests and rude behavior were normal, and that it was perfectly natural for women to treat men badly, to say rude things to him just to test him out to see if he's confident enough to push through that resistance. In fact, one of the first videos that I ever released on this channel back in 2017 was me at the beach going up to women and asking them about this phenomenon of shit tests.
Have you ever given a man a shit test before?
Probably. Every time. I think I give men shit tests every day of my life.
See, I knew that this was real. I saw how rude women were when I was younger, but I never stopped to ask the big questions like, is it okay to treat men like this? Why do women feel so entitled to be so righteously rude and dismissive? I was young, I was horny, and my mind just didn't think in terms of those big questions yet. I wasn't philosophical, I was just practical. Women are rude when you try and talk to them. Okay, that seems to be just a fact of reality. My only thought was, well, how do I overcome that? Like, if this is a game, what do I need to do to win? I was very
So for the first thing, as far as him saying he didn't question, if it was okay for chicks to be rude, me personally, I've never accepted that. That's never something I looked at like, okay, well, that's fine, or okay, I should accept that if it happens. I've never, ever been on that tip, ever. And I also was into checking women for disrespect early. So the thing about that is, like, when he says, I didn't ask the important question, was it okay for them to be rude like this? I didn't have to ask that question because I always thought that it was just unnecessary for them to be rude. The bigger issue I had outside of that was rejection and things of that nature. And that's something that everybody deals with. But I'm going to give you two quick examples. One is a true story. One is just like some funny shit. So like, from the hood, black community, blah, 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 all that shit, right? So the funny shit is, if you look at the G-Thang, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre video, the chick comes in the party, she's being rude and dismissive to all the dudes. She acting like she bougie, she too good for everybody. What did they do? I think it was Snoop and Dre. I don't know. It could have been somebody else in the video. They shook up some beer and sprayed the chick with the beer bottles. Now, is that something I condone? No. But this is a fictional representation of the low tolerance for bullshit from women in the black community at that time, and specifically from gangsters and stuff like that. I got to keep it real. But, some of that rubs off onto regular guys who are just in the hood and not gangsters, guys who have jobs and things of that nature. So with that extreme example, yeah, like if a chick is rude to me, I'm not going to just like, oh, that's fine. That's okay. It's supposed to be that. No, fuck you. Fuck you. Now I don't want to drag that part out because he mentioned the other thing, which was, basically when he was young, he had more of a how can I win the game mentality. And that is extremely understandable. Like, you're not, like, you have to experience the game and you have to experience girls and women through your youth into more mature ages. And then once you do that, you begin to question certain things that you see are common, or you may get hurt and you begin to, look into certain things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what lands people in these places going to seek information because you were confused or whatever the case may be. Experience will lead to you asking questions. Now, the issue that I have is we all want to win, but, at what cost is the issue? At what cost? And that's how come a lot of the things that I talk about, like, a lot of the money shit, like, a lot of y'all want fucking tens and nines and shit like that. That should be unnecessary headaches and shit like that. You'll be cool getting some 7-6 pussy or something like that. And a lot of y'all don't think that that's winning. That's the funny part, but I'm not going to go deep on that. But the issue is winning at what cost? Certain things you got to be able to walk away. A lot of dudes are not able to just walk the fuck away. Walk the fuck away.
Ambitious, and when I discovered the seduction community with like pickup artist techniques, learning about game with detailed instructions on how to pass shit tests, frame control, teasing, flirting, I thought, great, okay, that's what you do. So I learned it, I applied it, I got very good at it, and my dating life took off. But I can see now that that's actually been my blind spot, and that's the reason why I'm apologizing. Because I couldn't see past my own experience. My focus had been exclusively on how to pass shit tests. My focus was not on whether or not this behavior from women was actually appropriate. Now, longtime subscribers of this channel know that this issue has come up lots of times before, probably in 4 or 5 different videos. You guys have roasted me in the comment section, which I deserved, but even getting that feedback, I couldn't see it. I didn't understand why men were frustrated with me. Like, I was sincerely trying to help. I was explaining the psychology of why women are rude to men, the evolutionary basis, what purpose they're serving, what they're looking for in men. And then I was giving instructions on how to successfully move past that rudeness. But then there'd be a bunch of guys in the comments saying, why should I have to put up with this in the first place? Why is it okay for women to be rude to me?
And that's a fucking fact. Why should I tolerate that shit? Like, there's gonna be, like, this is the thing that blows my mind. Like, because it's one thing to, like, okay, a soft shit test or something like that where the disrespect really ain't there, or I go to approach a chick and she just act like I'm not there and shit like that. That's annoying. But it's like a whole nother thing when you just pop fly and you say some rude shit, or you being really condescending. Yo, fuck you. Like, who do you think you are? Like, that's the crazy shit right there. And that's how come, like, a lot, because he mentioned, like, pickup artists and stuff like that. That's how come these motherfuckers hate, like, this new wave of, like, red pill shit. And they even hate people like Steph is Cold and Alpha Male Strategies for saying shit like choosing signals, which is, like, pimp lingo, shit that pimps been saying since fucking forever. Because the whole point, and this is what makes everything go smooth, if you get a chick that's actually attracted to you. If she is actually attracted to you, then you're not going to have to deal with the level of bullshit that you're going to have to deal with from somebody who is completely unattracted to you or has very low attraction. Like, it's a whole different ball game. That doesn't mean you're not still going to have to deal with bullshit, but it's not going to be this type of shit where they just rude and condescending and just being dickheads. Like, no, that should never be tolerated. But let's continue.
I just kept focusing on the practical. And sadly, all of my explanations for female behavior, it just sounded like justifications, excuses for women's disrespect. All of my advice on how to overcome this, it had the effect of making men feel like I was just ignoring how outright unpleasant this is to deal with. Placing the responsibility on men once again to do the work. Doesn't matter how rude women are, how ridiculous their standards, how entitled their personalities. Men, it's on you to find a way, to suck it up, to figure it out.
Guys, can you ask us out in person? No more DMs, none of that. Girls love to get asked out in person. It doesn't happen anymore. Please come up to us. We're nice. The worst we're gonna say is no.
A few moments later.
Like a lot of world problems would be solved if men just like
cease to exist.
yeah.
I know that some of my past videos on this topic have really pissed off some guys. All I can say is that I was sincere, and I'm sorry, I did not see it. That's how it is with bias and with blind spots. You don't know what you don't know. But let me tell you now that I can see it. I see it very clearly. This dating market is fucked up. At its core, the whole thing is fucked. We have allowed our culture to degenerate to the point where women feel like it is okay to treat men with disrespect, to be rude, to be insulting. A kind, polite man says hello to you, he's being friendly. It's fine to just ignore him or just be bitchy for the entire conversation. No manners, no etiquette, no respect, no affirming of his right to dignity. That's fucked up. It shouldn't be this way, and it doesn't have to be. Yes, you can looks max like crazy. You can learn game. You can become the perfect seduction guy who knows every little trick. Perfect frame control, the ability to successfully navigate through all her blockades. And then maybe you might be lucky enough to find your way into a conversation where she is being friendly to you. But that is a ridiculous standard to hold men to. Why isn't being kind enough? Why isn't being friendly and respectful enough? I can imagine an alternative timeline where boys and girls were all raised in healthy families. We live in close communities and everybody has positive self-esteem. Where once you become a man, if you approach a woman at an event, have a conversation with her, maybe ask her to dance, even if it does not work out between the two of you, there is no attraction. At all times, the woman is kind and friendly to you. She does not start off from a baseline hatred of men, distrust, suspicion. She takes no pleasure in rejecting men. In this alternative timeline, all women are polite, kind, respectful, friendly. Women value men and men value women. Men do not view women just as a means to have sex. Hookup culture is not a thing. Dating is much more straightforward because the purpose is clear. The goal is for everybody to partner up. Dating is not for people to get ego boosts. It's not for distracting people from their boredom. Dating is not used for free dinners or to masturbate using another person's body. In this timeline, dating is simple, uncomplicated, wholesome. Men don't need to put on an act. They can be themselves. They can be nice to women and feel confident that women are not going to interpret that niceness as weakness. Men can relax knowing that women in this timeline do not take pleasure in humiliating men.
I know there's a saying that it's a numbers game, but there's also a saying that says stay in your lane. And I just feel like some of the creatures that come up to me with the confidence they have, I mean, a man really came up to me at the gas station and said, "You caught my eye. How about we close him? Keep him sealed tight. Shut, actually. Because I'm here to fill up my gas."
See, that's a weird chick. And this generation is full of fucking weirdos. And I'm going to tell you why. Like, I couldn't imagine at any point, having an interaction with somebody and then getting on the internet and talking about them crazy. Like, I couldn't imagine that. A guy approaches her and then she gets on the internet and goes viral talking about how much she doesn't like him, just being very condescending. And it makes you wonder, did it cross her mind that, yeah, this shit might go viral. He may see it. He may know it's about him. It may hurt his feelings. It may, fuck up his confidence, fuck up his day and shit like that. Because the dude didn't have no ill intent. You don't have to want the dude, but at the same time, what you were doing is weirdo shit. Like, did she ever think, like, maybe I might see this guy again and he might say something again, like, da-da-da-da, like, or this is the thing. Did she think that as far as, he may see this and it might fuck up his day and just not care, which is actually more sinister, in my opinion. It actually makes this kind of fucking evil. Because the funny thing about all this approaching shit is women are incapable of doing it as well as we do or at the frequency that we do. And I'm talking about the majority of women. I don't care about the stud that that then took down 800 chicks. And even then, for them, it's a different game. They're not playing the same game as us. They're way less threatening if you let a woman tell it. But the internet has made people weird, and this is just an example of what weird chicks do. And I want to address something very quickly because he mentioned, saying something bitchy is one of the things that's rude, but also just flat out ignoring a guy that's talking to you is something rude. I could understand both of those being rude. I could deal with being ignored, even though I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I could deal with it more than saying something rude because you not acknowledging my presence, it is rude. But at the same time, I get the message. If you say something rude, that actually takes more effort. Like you didn't have to do that. And even then there's some anger with that, or there's something with that. You wanted to be condescending to me. You wanted to attack me. And for you to think that's okay is ludicrous and ridiculous. And I'm not going to lie. That's how come I don't put myself in those positions, because I've seen like these pickup artist dudes like fucking Adam Lyons say like, oh yeah, you got to keep a smile on your face when you're getting disrespected and stuff like that, so that other people in the club don't see your state go that. Like, fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. I done got more bitches off of dating apps and social media than I ever got in the club. But let's continue.
Things should not be like this. It just shouldn't. How things are right now, how men are treated by women, it's fucked up. There are a bunch of guys out there who are struggling, and it's not their fault. The game was massively rigged against them. And for so long, I could not see it, because when it came to the topic of shit tests and women being rude to men, I was too busy focused on how to overcome that, thinking of practical strategies to beat the game. And I forgot to stop and take notice of just how fucked up the game is that we are all playing.
Toxic or boring relationship?
Toxic.
Toxic.
Oh, toxic, definitely. It just makes it more fun.
Just makes it more fun.
It's more fun.
In this culture, we have women consciously choosing to be with bad men, which of course has the predictable consequence after you are treated badly of turning you bitter. Then, when a regular, nice man approaches them, from that bitterness, they feel entitled to be rude and suspicious. That situation is fucking ridiculous.
Now listen, I'm not gonna lie, man. I fuck with his videos, man. And I know this dude probably knows a lot more than me because he's done a lot more studying than me when it comes to these topics. But I don't think that's what it is in the majority of cases. That is some textbook shit. As in, when I say textbook shit, I mean like that's a cycle that goes on, like, hurt people type shit. But this is what I think it is, man. And I think he would agree to some extent because he knows a lot of the shit I'm about to say. I'm going to boil it down to two things. Number one, women are opportunistic. And number two, they're egotistical. So let me break both down very quickly. So egotistical, let's break that down very quick. These chicks' egos are getting pumped up more than ever. When you look at the internet, and the amount of DMs that they get. If you ever seen a chick take a screenshot of her DMs and put it on her story or post it on her page, they're getting likes coming in all the time and they don't have to do anything. They're getting they're chicks with damn near celebrity numbers on their Instagrams and stuff like that, as far as the amount of followers that they have for nothing. You look at OnlyFans. They made more money than the fucking NBA is a league. This year or last year, whatever year it was, fucking insanity. The salary of one of those chicks is like, I forget who it was. I seen it, but it's more than a lot of NBA players per year. Now that last one was an extreme example, but if we're talking about just bare bones, the baseline, a lot of chicks most chicks could get a lot of likes for nothing. The validation that they get through the internet is through the fucking roof. It is unprecedented. It is unprecedented. And this is just validation from the attention that they are getting. We haven't even talked, because just them getting a DM, that is enough. But we haven't actually talked about what's in the DMs. We haven't talked about how these guys are competing for these women and stuff like. So it just makes them egotistical. So that's the first thing. And there may be a better word for the second point I'm about to make, but opportunistic is what I'm going to go with. If women sense weakness, they exploit it. If you give women power, they abuse it. That's just what it is. So when you look at this, you got these egotistical women and you're coming up to them, approaching them and stuff like they got a million DMs. They really think that they're hot shit. They really think that they're hot shit. They may not be attracted to you, and that is fine. But the dynamics of the game automatically put them in a power position because they have something that you want. And when you approach them, that enables that power dynamic because you have to come up and make a good impression on her, right? That is the dynamic of the approach. So instead of being a regular, cordial, civil, respectable human being and just like, engaging a guy and letting them down soft or, oh no, I got a boyfriend, something like that, one of those. Instead of doing that, they actually take this opportunity to boost their self-esteem by abusing their power to be rude to you, to be fucking rude to you. And then they do weird shit like get on TikTok and talk shit about you just to also create a new chain of validation that she can feed off of from the rejection that she gave you, like the rejection that you experience. I heard somebody say, men lack empathy and I was going to react to that video, but that is just fucking comedy to me because it's like, you telling me women have empathy? Like you telling me that women like the one in that video that we watched, she has fucking empathy? You telling me most of the women we seen in this video, they have empathy? Fuck out of here. Egomaniacs.
And yes, I put the blame on women. Ladies, nobody is forcing you to date toxic men. Your bitter attitude is your own fault. Now you might say, well, that's unfair. What about the toxic man? What about his responsibility? If he didn't treat her badly, then none of this would be a problem. No, you still don't get it. If he didn't treat her badly, then she wouldn't be interested. These women are specifically attracted to toxic men. That's the point. I know from my own life, during my teenage years, I was my authentic, nice guy self, and I had moderate success. But when I learned game and I started teasing women, not texting back, seeing multiple girls at the same time, leaning into my cockiness, guess what? When I did that, my options exploded. My guess is that for all of the genuine bad boys out there, there's just as many men who would have been nice guys if they had been sexually rewarded for doing so. But they listened to women's actions, not their words. And you can hardly blame them. Why should any man be single and lonely, martyrs to the nice guy cause? Nope. Men are always going to act the way that women find sexually desirable. Toxic men, bad boys, women, do not complain about them. They are your own creation.
I always look at women's complaints about bad dudes as just disingenuous bullshit. And this is why. And it's very simple. They continue to date the same types of guys over and like this is not something unique. This is not something that I've seen in one person. This is not something that just happens in my city. This happens all around the fucking planet. I gotta keep it a bean with y'all, man. At some point, I began to think the chicks are fucking stupid because they will get online, right? They will get online. They will get in your ear as friend zone Jones if you're a friend zone guy. They will come to the job, and if you're a coworker, just complain and they will complain to anybody with an ear about these guys. They will complain about them. They will complain about the shit that they do. To you in your ears, it sounds like, oh, this is objectively bad. You are right. This is horrible. This is horrible. But this is what they do, bro. And again, this happens all around the planet. Two things happen. Number one, they keep going back to the guy who is mistreating them, whether he is cheating a bunch, which that's usually the most common, cheating, or he's just flat out disrespecting her, being condescending, being real rude, or even in the worst case scenarios, he is a DV bandit, somebody who is doing the worst. They will come and complain about these guys. Some people may even try to help them in these situations, but they still go back. So that's the first thing. But the second thing that happens is, okay, that guy was bad. You finally got away from him. Now it's time for a fresh start. Go get you a good guy. What happens? You go and you get another dude. All the red flags are there. You complain about the red flags, so you know you see it, but you still continue to fuck with this guy who is just as bad, if not worse, than the last guy. And it's bad again. And now you got more shit to complain about again, and it is a cycle. You continue to pick bad guy after bad guy after bad guy after bad. And let me tell you, this is when because I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot in my life. I could tell a bunch of stories, but listen, the moment I was like, oh no, this chick is a fucking idiot. There's a bunch of moments like that when I look at certain chicks' personal situations, but I'll tell you one that really sticks out. This chick I know, she had been spit on by her dude. They was always arguing. He didn't respect her. She bought him a phone. He broke the phone. All types of shit. Like just, bro. But the spitting on her is the craziest part, right? She gets down and talks about this professional athlete who makes millions and millions of dollars trying to pursue her, right? She turns him down. Not only that, but she brags about turning him down. Now, you remember that other guy that I just mentioned that she was with before? That guy was not even just broke. He was never employed during the whole time he was with her, and he was living off her dime. He was living off her dime. So this chick would rather be with a broke dude who would disrespect her and spit on her than a multi-millionaire. Absolutely. Absolutely. Undeniably fucking stupid. So when chicks do complain about this shit, I don't, bro, that shit's so disingenuous to me, man. That shit is so fucking disingenuous. Like, you love that shit. You love that shit. And you love to complain about that shit. And you love to act like you don't like it. But we all know, you know, I know, he knows, your coworkers, everybody knows that's a lie. You love that shit. And he knows you love that shit, so he's going to keep doing it to you. Let's continue.
Every woman out there who is rude to nice men while sexually rewarding bad boy jerks, this is your fault. You need to fix this. And once again, I am so sorry for my earlier videos which had the indirect effect of shaming men, telling them that it's their responsibility to do this or that, to try and overcome all of this rudeness from women. I was trapped by the limitation of my own experiences. I can see that now. But it's obvious to me now that the expectation that men have some kind of obligation to overcome these ridiculous hurdles is in and of itself sexist. That women are allowed and encouraged to display this kind of behavior towards men is sexist. It is not your fault that you were born a man and into a culture that devalues and dehumanizes you to this degree. And I don't think that you should feel ashamed of yourself because you don't have the stomach to tolerate this kind of disrespect. I used to think that men who did not learn game or seduction techniques were cowards. And maybe that's true in some cases. But now I see it more like maybe those guys have some self-esteem. They respect themselves too much to participate in such a degrading activity, having to pass shit tests. As you can see, my thoughts are always evolving. I've been thinking about this a lot, and the fact that those old videos are still sitting there, that really bothers me. They don't really reflect my current thoughts, and so I wanted to do like a type of update. So what about your old videos, Alexander? The ones where you give instructions on how to pass shit tests? How do you feel about them now? Well, the information is still good if that's your goal, if you want to learn how to overcome these things.
Listen, this is just my thoughts on the video at this point. Listen, you know, I respect him apologizing and stuff, but it really depends on where you were at and what your goals and aims are and stuff like that. So if you want to be the cold approach guru, if you want to be the master of the cold approach, if you think that is some shit to do, then there may be some value in what he's talking about in those videos. I got a whole video on like internet dating and Tinder and like DMs and stuff. Like, bruh, we in a different era, man. To me, and I'm gonna break it down very simple, bruh. To me, cold approaching is like writing an essay on a piece of paper with a pencil for college. Did you know the typewriter exists? Did you know that computers with printers exist? Did you know that AI exists? Did you know that they got fucking programs and things of that nature to remix some of the AI so that, you know, other people can't detect that it was done by AI? Like, when it comes to something like that, like writing a college paper or something, like, we are so advanced to where you should be utilizing the new technology, and it's kind of foolish if you don't. And when we look at that, like, these guys, again, these pickup artists and stuff like that, they're going to try and convince you because they're trying to sell you on buying their courses. They trying to get you to come and spend that $10,000 weekend with them in the club. Like, and this is the funny thing about, like, you know, the whole, like, man, pay $10,000 to go in the club. They not going to use that shit to buy one fucking bottle. I don't want to get that deep, but listen, like, the funny thing is, like, if you go and play the club and you got $10,000 to spend, why don't you go in that bitch and start buying tables and bottles and being a fucking trick like all the drug dealers and shit? Or all the, you know, if you are going to Vegas and you want to be around the Andrew Tate motherfuckers and you want to wear a fucking suit in the club and shit, why don't you go and be like one of them motherfuckers if you got $10,000 to spend on a fucking pickup artist boot camp where they not going to buy one bottle with that fucking drink? Y'all not going to get no motherfucking Paul Masson, Hennessy, fucking Sean Don Perignon. Like, y'all not getting shit. Y'all not even getting no hypnotic. Yeah, they just taking your $10,000 and yelling in your ear in the club to go holler at bitches. Like, what the fuck is that? But listen, back to the point I was making. So, like, when it comes to the cold approach, like, that can work. It can work. But I think throwing like, going out to the mall and doing like 80,000 of those when we have the fucking internet, that is absolutely ludicrous. That is absolutely ludicrous to me. And even then, outside of that, like, you can actually do warm approaches if you can get in the right environments, like a gym, or even in some cases a job. People don't like me saying that, but these things are true. I've been in jobs where a lot of fucking goes on. I'm gonna tell you something. I get it if you got a career, but even presidents have fucked on the job. So what are we talking about? Anyways, let's continue. Like, you know, so there are environments you can get in to where you can develop more familiarity with certain women, and you still might have to approach, but it's not going to be a cold approach. It's not going to be something to where we haven't made eye contact, we haven't seen each other, there are no choosing signals for me to misread a reader, and I'm just going up because I like what I see type shit. Like you could do warm, and even then it's like, okay, we done had certain icebreaker conversations and stuff like that to where there is some familiarity. Like it's just like, bro, you do not have to do this go out and approach 500 times as shit. I don't do the dating apps no more. I done told y'all, like, man, Facebook is really where it's at. Or if you in a, certain type of city that facilitates a lot of Facebook shit. If not, Instagram is much harder, but still that's where a lot of DMs get sent and shit like that. You get your Instagram right and stuff like that, etc. I got a whole video on that shit. So it's like, bro, that shit is dead as far as cold approaching. So let's get off of that because, again, I mentioned it's where you're at in your life. So if you want to, what you call it, if you want to do that, then you do that. There are other ways to go about it, but if you want to do that, you can do that. You can do your cold approach and stuff like that. But on the other end, if his message was you should tolerate chicks ignoring you, and you should also tolerate chicks being rude to you and not be rude to them back, not pop shit back, etc., then I can understand why he's apologizing now. Even though I said it, I check a chick and all that stuff and I check disrespect, I'm really not into going back and forth with chicks. Like, it's not something I'm big on. It's a difference between we're having a conversation or I'm trying to engage with you and you disrespect me in a crazy way and I let you know that that is not tolerable or acceptable versus, okay, now you want to say something back, now I say something back and you say something back and then we just going back like, fuck all that shit. I'm going to be real and I'm going to end it on this note because this is something completely different and this has not even got anything to do with what he said necessarily. But I am beginning to get to a point where processing most people's opinions, but specifically women, because somebody said something to me the other day, a woman, and I just look at some of my interactions with women when it comes to talking about these types of topics. Their opinions may not even be worth processing. And I think that even goes further to where it's like, if I were to have a conversation and after the check-in she want to say something, like, it's not even worth it. Like, it's not even like you're a fucking peon for real. Like, I'm not about to like fucking argue with, like, fuck that shit. That's a waste of energy. I also seen something the other day where a chick basically said, for nonchalant men, open this and like, you guys are da who hurt you all the, and it's like, the thing about nonchalant men is they don't want to argue. Like, if they do get treated rude in these situations, they don't really give a fuck. They just keep it moving. Chicks don't like that. Chicks don't like, how like he's saying like, oh, it's rude when we get ignored. They don't like being ignored. They don't like expending energy to try and be mad at somebody and the dude doesn't match their energy. They don't like that shit. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. But anyways, we done, man. Let me know your thoughts.